So hey everybody, it's Mickey, and I am back in the kitchen today for what I hope to be the first of many family sit-down dinners. Today I'm going to be sharing with you recipes for main courses, side dishes, and desserts too. So if you are new here, I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe. I put out new videos every week about all things home. Our families are so busy these days that it's important to gather everyone around the dinner table for a great family meal. This is our time to catch up with each other, connect, and share our days. So in today's episode 1, we are making one of our family favorites: CrockPot Mississippi meatballs, mashed potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts, and strawberry cream crumb cake. So the first thing that we are going to do this morning for family dinner is put together our CrockPot Mississippi meatballs. This recipe is so good. It is very much, of course, like the Mississippi pot roast, but using the meatballs really gives you a lot of versatility because, you know, you can just have them as I'm going to serve them today on mashed potatoes, but you can also take these meatballs, make them smaller, and have them for, you know, like a party on a buffet. You can fill a hoagie bun up with these meatballs with a little bit of provolone cheese. There's just so many ways that you can serve these. So I've gathered all the things that we are going to need for our meatball recipe. Now you can also use frozen meatballs for this, but personally I think homemade meatballs are about 1,000% better than any frozen meatballs that you can find, and they are really super easy to make. So you're going to need, if you're going to make your own meatballs, you're going to need 2 pounds of ground meat. Now you can use ground turkey, you can use ground beef. Today I'm going to be using some ground bison. You'll also need about 1/2 cup of very finely diced onion, a couple cloves of crushed garlic. You'll need 1/2 cup of Italian breadcrumbs, 2 eggs, and a cup of Parmesan cheese. For the sauce that goes on top of these meatballs in the crock pot, you are going to need about 2 cups of beef broth. You'll need a package each of au jus gravy and a package of ranch seasoning. You will also need about, I think, like 1/4 cup of the juice from some pepperoncini peppers, along with maybe like 3 to 4 peppers. You can put them in whole or you can chop them up. Additions to that gravy after we cook the meatballs are going to be a little bit of cornstarch, a couple tablespoons of water, and you can use heavy cream or milk. I'm going to be using 1/2 and 1/2 today, but this comes into play when the recipe is almost completely done. So let's concentrate right now on putting together our meatballs. I have my ground bison in a big mixing bowl here, and I am going to season this a little bit with just some dried parsley. I'm going to add a little bit more of some ranch seasoning to this. I'm also going to add Mrs. Dash and a little bit of pepper. There's going to be enough salt in the package mixes that we won't need to add any additional salt to this. To this, I'm going to add our minced onion and some garlic. I have that 1/2 cup of Italian breadcrumbs and a cup of Parmesan. We're going to add our 2 eggs, and then with really clean hands, we are going to mix this up and form into meatballs. So I have a cookie sheet here lined with some aluminum foil because I am going to be baking these meatballs in the oven for about 25 minutes or so. You can also fry these in a little bit of olive oil on your stove, which really I think has the best flavor for meatballs. But I want to save ourselves a little bit of calories, so I am just going to bake them in the oven. So I'm going to be making my meatballs about this size, and I am just going to fill this cookie sheet up, and then I'm going to stick them in a 350-degree oven for about 25 minutes. You don't have to worry about completely cooking them through because of course they will be cooking in the crock pot as well. So that recipe made about 27 really good sized meatballs, which is going to be more than enough for dinner tonight. I'll be able to put some of these in the freezer. So I'm just going to stick them in the oven and cook them for about 25 minutes. So the meatballs are all baked. I'm just adding them to my crock pot here. And as you can see, there's really not that much fat that comes out of the bison ground meat. That's why I like to use it, you know, oftentimes if I'm not using ground turkey and it calls for ground beef in a recipe, this is a really great alternative. So I am just going to add all these meatballs here to the bottom of my crock pot, and then we are going to put together the sauce that goes on top. So in this small bowl here, I am going to add my beef broth along with just a couple ounces of water. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of the pepper juice, and then I'm going to add a packet of au jus gravy and a packet of ranch seasoning. You just want to whisk these together until they are well blended. Then go ahead and add this mixture on top of your meatballs. Try to cover them as well as you can. And then add a couple of the peppers. I've chopped up a couple peppers just to, you know, kind of add them to the top there, along with a few whole ones. And then to the top of this, I'm also going to add a couple tablespoons of butter, because as you can see, you know, that bison really doesn't produce a lot of fat, and you just want to add a little bit to this recipe. And then we are going to cover and cook on low for about 2 to 3 hours. So while our meatballs are cooking away in the crock pot, we're going to start on our sides, and I'm going to be serving the meatballs and gravy over some mashed potatoes. So I have 4 pretty large russet potatoes here that I've scrubbed and peeled, and I am just going to cut them in equal pieces so that they all cook pretty much at the same length of time. I have a big pot here of cold water because we're going to let them sit on the stove for just a little while before they start cooking. So I'm just going to chop these up and get them ready to go. So the potatoes are all boiled, they are fork tender, and we're going to start to season them. Now my mashed potatoes, I guess, are basically whipped potatoes because I like to use my hand mixer to mash them all up. But before I do, I have some very specific things that I always add to my bowl here. So I'm gonna add a little bit of cream cheese, probably like maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of a block of cream cheese in there. We're going to add a little bit of, yes, ranch dressing, dry ranch dressing mix. I'm going to add a few shakes of minced onion. Minced onion really adds such a great flavor to your mashed potatoes. I'm also going to add some garlic powder, because as you know, garlic powder makes everything taste better. And then of course we're going to add some salt and pepper. I really don't have measurements on this. I just kind of eyeball it, because you know, pretty much every time that I do mashed potatoes, it's a different amount. So it would really be hard to tell you exactly how much to put in there. You just keep adding it until your heart tells you to stop. So I'm also going to put in a pretty good spoonful of butter, and then we are going to start to whip. So you're going to whip till everything looks like it's a little bit crumbly, but you know that everything is really well mixed. And then we're going to start to add a little bit of milk. You can add half and half, you can add heavy cream, regular milk. Since I have my half and half here because I used it for our gravy, I'm just going to add a little bit at a time to our potatoes, because we want them to have a fluffy texture without looking too wet. So that is looking just about perfect to me. I'm not going to add any more milk to this, because I like my potatoes to be maybe just a little bit drier and a little bit more fluffy. As you can see, they are such a great consistency. They're nice and creamy and just perfect. So as we wait for the rest of our dinner to be done, I'm going to add a little bit of butter to the top here, and we're going to put it back off the heat, but we're going to sit it on the stove because our stove is still nice and warm, with a little lid on here to keep the potatoes just perfect until we sit down to dinner. So along with our meal today, we are going to be making some roasted Brussels sprouts. I just picked mine up at Walmart, and they are so beautiful. Look at them. Now, if you are one of those people that say you do not like Brussels sprouts, I really encourage you to try this recipe. Roasting them completely changes the flavor of this vegetable. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut the little tip off and peel them a little bit, slice them in half, and then we are going to cover them in some olive oil, some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, and also some red pepper flakes. If you've never liked Brussels sprouts before, I'm telling you, this recipe is going to change your mind. So I'm just going to chop these up, get them in my pan here, and we'll prep them to be roasted in the oven. Our Brussels sprouts are all washed and cleaned and sliced, and we are going to add some salt and pepper, some garlic powder. Everything is better with some garlic powder on it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil over top here. I'm going to try not to put too much on here so they're not like swimming in it. Okay, so then with really nice clean hands, I'm just going to move these all around, make sure that everything has a little bit of coating of that olive oil on it. Over top, I'm going to sprinkle some red pepper flakes. And then we are going to put them in a 425-degree oven for like about a half hour. You're going to want to check them because everybody likes a little bit of a different tenderness with their Brussels sprouts. So we like ours a little bit firmer, so we will definitely probably only go about a half hour. It's been a couple hours and we're going to check on our meatballs. And they are looking and smelling oh so very good. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of the meatballs from the crock pot, and then we are going to do our little bit of a slurry and thicken up the sauce. So I removed all the meatballs from the crock pot. I have a little bit of cold water here in this little cup, and I'm going to put about like a tablespoon of cornstarch in here, and I'm going to mix it up to add to the juices in the pot here. I'm just going to whisk that around a little bit to allow it to start to thicken up. And then we are going to add a little bit of either heavy cream, half and half, or milk. So as you can see, this has already started to thicken up a little bit, and I am going to add about a half a cup here of the half and half and whisk that all in. And then we are going to return our meatballs to the crock pot and let this go for about another 20 minutes or so. So while everything is cooking away, we are going to be starting on dessert, and we are going to be making the easiest, most delicious cake recipe. This is going to be for strawberry dump cake, and you are just going to need a few ingredients for this. Now you're going to need 2 cans of strawberry pie filling. I got mine from Walmart. You can also use just about any other kind of pie filling that you have at home, but strawberry is my absolute favorite. You're going to need 1 stick of melted butter, a white cake mix, and 1 block of Philadelphia cream cheese. So I have set my oven to 350, and I have a 9x13 pan here that I have sprayed with non-stick cooking spray. So what you're going to do is take your 2 cans of your pie filling and then just dump them both in the bottom of your 9x13 pan and smooth them out into a nice even layer. So once you have your filling all spread out in your bowl, you are going to take your block of cream cheese and slice off some thin layers and scatter it all over the top of your filling here. And you're going to use this whole block of cream cheese, so just try to get it evenly covered. So once you have all of your pie filling covered, just set your plate aside and we're going to work on our crumbly topping. Now in this bowl, I just have our package of white cake mix, and I have melted in this pan 1 stick of butter, and we're going to just kind of pour it over slowly, and we're going to mix it with a fork until it kind of resembles like the topping for a cobbler. Crumb topping is all mixed up, it's gonna look a little bit like this. And then we're just going to take our clean hands and we are going to sprinkle this over the top of our cream cheese and our pie filling until the top is all covered. So this is all ready to go. I'm going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes until the bottom is nice and bubbly and the topping has a little bit of browning. Our cake came out perfectly. I'm going to set it aside to cool until after dinner. I'm just about to take the Brussels sprouts out of the oven and then we are going to be ready to eat. The Mississippi meatballs are just so delicious. The half and half that we added to the gravy was just the perfect addition to make it nice and creamy. The mashed potatoes are light and fluffy, and those Brussels sprouts are just perfect. Just the right type of meal to bring everyone around the table to catch up and spend a little time together. I hope you all enjoyed the first edition of our family night dinners. I will be putting together more videos in the future of some really great simple family recipes that you can share with your most favorite people and enjoy a great night together. Details to the recipes that I shared in today's video can be found in the description box down below. Join our communities over on Facebook and Instagram at My Bashful Life, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you all back as part of our YouTube family. Our community has quietly reached 25,000 subscribers, and I am so grateful and appreciative of each and every one of you. So until I see you in the next video, I hope that you love the life that you have. Be kind to each other, stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.